Hello, and welcome to 70 Year 70 Muppets, a Muppet fan podcast presented by ToughPigs.com. This is the podcast where we celebrate the Muppets' 70th anniversary with 70 straight weeks of spotlights on our favorite Muppet characters, from the most popular to the most obscure. I'm this week's host, Ryan Roe, and the Muppet of the Week is Marvin Suggs, performed originally by Frank Oz and more recently by Eric Jacobson, and designed by Jim Henson, making his world debut in 1976 in the Rita Moreno episode of The Muppet Show. Now, if you're so inclined, please stay tuned until the end of this episode when I will talk to a special guest, my dad, Grady Roe, about the time I shamelessly stole the Marvin Suggs joke for a church talent show. But first, I'm very excited to have my guest for this week's episode. He knows a lot about music and percussion and working with Muppets. He was the music coordinator on Muppets Tonight, and he has served for several seasons as vocal music director, music editor, and as a composer on Sesame Street. My guest is Paul Rudolph. Paul Rudolph, thank you so much for joining me for 70 Years, 70 Muppets.
Yay, happy to be here.
Yeah.
70 years. Amazing.
Yeah, isn't that something?
Yeah.
So we're talking today about Marvin Suggs, and by extension, his Muppaphone. And
Yes.
when I asked you if you would be interested in being on this episode, you said you love Marvin Suggs. So let's just start with that. Why do you love Marvin Suggs, or what do you love about him?
Well, the Muppet comedy, I think, is the first part of it. Muppet music comedy. Like if you put all those together, there's that DNA of the show and DNA of Jim Henson and all that. But it's just such a wacky way to perform an instrument, and of course, and the instrument being the little Muppaphones that are yelling or
Yeah.
singing sort of a pitch, or and so now looking back on all that stuff from being behind the scenes and watching puppeteers, it's fascinating to me to think about how they rehearsed it, how they performed it, the timing, all that combined. So yeah, for me, it's Muppet music, humor, and everything all combined. Just the
Yeah.
ridiculousness of somebody just hitting these little creatures, let's call them, whatever they are.
Yeah, they are alive, which,
Yeah.
we'll get to when that came up on the show. But yeah, you were saying before we started recording about the puppetry of it. I noticed in the first appearance of Marvin Suggs is when he does Lady of Spain.
Yeah.
There are only two Muppet performer voices, as far as I can tell, and it's Jim
Ah,
Henson and Jerry Nelson. But there are 8 different Muppaphone heads. So that definitely does make you wonder,
right.
are they doing it live with different puppeteers? Just,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think that the first one I saw was Witch Doctor and Ting Tang Walla Walla Bing Bang. And I
Yes.
remember my dad singing me that song when I was a kid. So that one really hits me for memories and such. But yeah, how many puppeteers were below the frame? Were they doubled up? Did they, as they rehearsed that and memorized their parts? I mean, it's not easy. And there's some that are doing two pitches here and there.
Right. You can hear the same voices doing 2 different.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So, but rehearsing that's not easy. And what's funny to me about my percussion background too is, when you have a line of Muppets like that and they're all doing things separately, but in time to the same piece of music, I think of marching bass drums. And
Oh,
I know
okay.
this is a tangent, but in the marching world, say there are 5 or 6 individual bass drums, right? And
Yeah.
they're tuned essentially, right? There's different boop 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 boop.
Yep.
There are different pitches. Each one of those players has to memorize their own individual part, but it has to sound like one cohesive thing, being
As
the
if,
five.
yeah, as if it's one instrument with different
Yeah, right.
different
And they're
tones or different drums.
incredibly complex parts. So I look back at this and go, wait, it's almost like a marching bass drum line where
Huh.
each individual puppeteer and voice has to memorize that one part. And yeah, they're getting hit on the head or whatever, but on the hand. And so when they are feeling that hit, of course they're going to do it. But it's more than that. They have to memorize it. They have to know the song, Witch Doctor Ting Tang Walla Balla Ting Tang.
Yeah.
But
And they have to
prior
know just
to
their 1 or 2 words
and
or
just their
sounds,
part.
or
Yeah.
yeah.
So I mean, to go back in time and be a fly on the wall just for that taping would be fascinating to see. And Frank Oz, whomever's assisting him, is doing a great job. because again, that's not easy. You're timing that out as if it's a xylophone or a
Oh,
vibraphone
yeah. Okay.
or a
So
set of
you're for
bells.
the listeners, you're just you just held up both of your hands, and this never
Right.
occurred to me. It's probably a separate puppeteer doing both of his
Oh,
hands with the mallets.
I would almost bet on it that it's
Yeah.
a separate person. There's no way. I don't think there's any way Frank Oz could have done one hand. I mean, he could have one hand and then a right hand assist, but I'm guessing it's one person.
Yeah.
Plus, in Witch Doctor, they spin around. There's a really quick spin around, which two puppeteers spinning around, you got to rehearse that, because you're physically in the same space.
Oh, so the other puppeteer has to follow him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they'd have to spin around at that moment. So I watched that
Wow.
and going, and again, this is stuff that I, as a kid watching it, laughing, music, haha, they're hitting things, to today, knowing how hard our puppeteers on Sesame and Muppets in general choreograph and work on those moves.
Yeah.
It's incredibly complex. So yeah, they make it
Right.
look easy.
And so, as with all Frank Oz characters, I think his performance goes a long way toward
Oh
making Marvin
yeah.
Suggs so funny. He's just this
Oh,
bizarre guy with this weird accent.
and very high pitched too. I mean, for Frank Oz, it's a very high pitched voice for him too.
Yeah, it's high pitched and yet it doesn't really sound like Miss Piggy.
Right, right. Yeah,
I guess
it's a
because of
great.
the accent.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah.
He said somewhere that the accent was based on a friend of his who was French.
I I buy that. Yeah,
Yeah, which is funny though because his costume kind of evokes like a Spanish flamenco dancer.
yeah. Well, maybe that's why Lady of Spain. Maybe they originally
Oh,
designed the first
yeah.
costume to be that, but that it just became this nutty accent just in general. Because yeah, he's definitely. Yeah, I wouldn't think he would be like. Because in Witch Doctor he speaks things a lot. I went to the Witch Doctor. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't hear it as French, but yeah,
No,
interesting.
not. I mean, I guess sometimes when he speaks, but yeah,
Yeah.
if there are any French experts out there, maybe they can chime in. Does Marvin Suggs really sound French?
Right, right. That's great.
Yeah. So one thing fans have kind of wondered over the years, he refers to the instrument as the Muppaphone. So what do you think we should call each individual, furry head
Well,
creature?
let's
Like, are they
see.
all Muppaphones
Um,
or
no, they would be an individual thing, right? Because I have a vibraphone, but you don't call each bar a vibraphone. It's a
right?
it's a bar. It's one note of music. It's one pitch. But the Muppaphones are just funny because they're in some cases, Lady of Spain, they are singing actual pitches. The scale shtick, I love the tuning up thing just goes on and on and on in that.
Yes.
When
They have to switch
three or
places.
four times, yeah, finally get the scale right. But Muppaphone, um, I don't know. I don't
Should
know
we
what to
start calling
call
each
it.
one a bar? A Muppaphone
Eh,
bar?
yeah, well, but they're flapping, they're a creature.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, xylophone. It's basically they're made of wood, so it's a wooden bar. Yeah, I would
sure,
just call them a bar. That's a vibraphone bar. Um, a glockenspiel. You call each note is or bells. They call it a glockenspiel. Or when I was playing it in grade school, they call the bells. Play the
sure.
bells.
Right, yeah.
Metal. Yeah, I don't know. That's that's something for the fans to vote on. I think
Yeah,
they
yeah.
should vote on what do we call because Muppaphone collectively,
Right.
it's
It's the
all
name
of
of the
them.
instrument, all of them, right?
Yeah, yeah. I don't
So,
know.
yeah, we may never have a definitive answer.
Yeah. Well, and I love to like the different. I call them activators, but mallets, basically sticks or
Right.
mallets that he uses because it's sometimes different. Um, like a hammer, almost like a mallet hammer,
Yeah, definitely.
which I'm just glancing at the pictures now. And sometimes it's like a regular, like a bass drum mallet or a timpani mallet.
Okay,
Um, I guess those are Muppet choices, whatever they thought on the day would be funny or whatever the,
probably.
the Muppet Creature Shop or Henson had in stock. I have my favorites, which you can't see on this audio, but my favorites are my tiny rubber hands, which
So
I
these
made.
are those drumsticks with little rubber
They
hands on
are,
the end?
yeah.
Yeah,
I use them on everything. Vibraphone, yeah, it's a really great, it's a rubber sound, and there are definitely out there rubber vibraphone and xylophone and marimba mallets, but I just made these for
sure.
fun because they're so ridiculous. And yeah, use them on anything, tom-toms, snare
Yeah.
drums, whatever.
Yeah, I did want to ask as a percussionist and specifically a mallet percussionist if there was stuff like that that you notice when you see.
Yeah, well, that's why the variety is what's kind of funny. And
Yeah.
again, fly on the wall. Who was working that day? What drawer of mallets or drumsticks did they did they have access to, and what did they use and why? You know what I mean? Because I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
it's essentially the sound is always the same. It's a person, the Muppaphone singing or or whatever. And of course, if you're getting hit by something, whether it's a felt mallet or a hard plastic mallet, one of them
Right.
looks like a hard plastic mallet. Yeah, it's hard to tell, but yeah, that's just funny to me. It's always something different. There's never, you know, where are my official mallets? There's
Yeah.
not a
Yeah, I had never noticed, but I
yeah,
guess yeah. So Marvin Suggs is not. He doesn't discriminate.
right.
He'll use whatever he has on hand.
So great. I noticed in Muppet Wiki they call them an instrument made of living balls of fluff.
I guess that's
So
accurate.
okay, yeah, living
Although fluff
balls.
kind of makes it sound like I don't know. They seem more solid than fluff
Right,
somehow.
right. Yeah, because somehow to get that sound, you're hitting it and they are physically making that sound.
Yeah.
So creatures, whatever. I don't know.
Right.
It's too funny.
Sometimes the number of Muppaphone heads changes. Like
Yeah,
sometimes he only has eight, sometimes he has six. At the end of the Muppets 2011 movie, he only has four.
right, right. Yeah, and I wonder, I mean, obviously Lady of Spain, they did it for the number of pitches for like the scale. So he's tuning up at the beginning and they have to do like a full major scale.
Right.
Um, in Witch Doctor, I mean, that's the thing about funny thing about Witch Doctor is the actual melody of Ting Tang Walla Walla Bing Bang. I think there's one creature, Fluff Ball, in there that
Right.
does two pitches maybe. So, and I don't know if that was just by design or if that was if they specifically said, no, we're going to choreograph it this way, and you're going to sing Ting Tang. I forget which pitch it is, but anyway, yeah, I'm curious why if it was like the Muppet movie one where there's just four, maybe it was just the size of the space,
That's probably it. Yeah.
puppeteers that were needed underneath the table or whatever, however
Yeah.
they were filming it. It might have just been a logistical thing, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But I think again, Witch Doctor, I think it's very specific. Like they had, I think it's six pitches maybe for
That was
that.
six. Yeah.
Yeah, that obviously was pitched for the song and the pitches in the song. But again, there's one that's making like two pitches and whatever.
So the same one he hits it and it makes two different.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah. So
That's like that
you know,
Simpsons joke about the itchy and
right? Yeah.
scratchy cartoon. I hope somebody got fired
An
for that
episode,
blunder.
yeah, yeah, the xylophone where Scratchy, it's just it's clearly playing at the same note. I
Yes.
heard two pitches, and sure, someone got fired for that. Yeah, was it the bone xylophone or
Yes,
something?
yes, that's it. There's at least one notable Marvin Suggs appearance on The Muppet Show where he's not inflicting pain on the Muppaphone, and that is in the Steve Martin episode when he
Oh,
is auditioning the All Food Glee Club.
so they're not playing. They're not actually.
It's not the Muppaphone, it's food, and
Oh, right.
he's
Okay, the bananas. Yes, right. He's
yeah,
just conducting.
yes, we
He's
have no
conducting. Yes,
bananas.
yes, yes. Gotcha.
Yeah,
Yeah, I did watch that. Yeah, yeah. That's interesting. Like that could have been. I mean, it could have been anybody conducting, but why did they choose Marvin for that? That's interesting. He
that's a
was,
great question. Yeah,
yeah,
and we see, yeah, the you got to feel bad, even more bad for the Muppaphone creatures because they get hit on the head and the food gets it easy.
right, right. They're just saying, oh, this is the one with all the one-liners, right? Like, I'll catch up, and
Yeah, yeah. How are
yeah,
you, cabbage, getting ahead?
right, yeah.
How are
All the
you, asparagus? I feel naked without my hollandaise.
that's kind of a deep one, deep cut,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So you've conducted human singers. Do you think it would be easier to conduct food than Muppaphone creatures from
Wow.
in your professional opinion?
Yeah, if I had to be below the frame conducting them, well, yeah, food is one thing. The Muppaphones are another. I mean, to like, if I'm if I'm cueing people below the frame that you see, I'm I'm doing it very kind of casually. I'm not conducting one, two, three, four, like a
Right,
conductor would. Floor, wall, wall, ceiling, floor, wall,
right,
wall, ceiling. I don't do that. But I'm cueing people for entrances, cutoffs, exits, stuff like that. Just because, the performers have so much to think about anyway. They're
right.
in a pretzel position, contorted, they're looking at a monitor, their chin is usually in their chest, which is why
Yeah.
it's hard to sing live. Um,
Oh,
but
yeah,
I'm
of
even
course.
on that assembly line song, I'm basically cueing the lines for each character to start their line. Like they've
Mm,
they've heard it enough. They recorded it they've heard the rough stage mix that I sent them, and they've put it in their brains and in their bodies physically to puppeteer it. So I'm trying to do as little as I can to cue them in those moments.
Okay.
But for something like Witch Doctor, Ting Tang, well, like I mean that would be massive points to like pointing
Oh,
to it.
yeah,
I
to
would be
point to
pointing
each
to
one,
individual puppeteer,
that might
or
not be
even if
practical.
they're yeah, if they've doubled up, if one puppeteer is doing two creatures,
Yeah.
then I would be pointing at them twice or pointing at their left hand and then their right hand. I mean, that's yeah, again, fly on the wall. Like, how did they
Right.
do it? Was
Yeah.
someone under there conducting, directing, cueing, whatever helps them? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So yeah, for at least from the real world point of view of doing that all food glee club, that would be easier because
Yeah. Oh
they're
yeah.
all singing in unison and then each one just has
Right.
that one joke.
Have their
Yeah.
little jokes. Yeah.
Yeah. That would be
That's
much
okay.
easier.
They could cut around for that too, just
Yeah.
cut in and out of those. The all food glee club.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a fun one.
It is.
So it's fun. The Marvin Suggs concept is funny. Somehow it's not too like we don't feel too bad for the Muppaphone creatures watching them get hit on the head.
Right.
Um, but it is actually kind of a dark concept. Have you ever heard or seen Frank Oz's backstory that he came up with, or his sort of little behind the
No.
scenes
Wait,
of
a backstory for Marvin
for
Suggs?
Marvin Suggs? Yeah.
No.
So this was I found this on Muppet Wiki. This was in the liner notes of the compilation CD Music, Mayhem, and More. Frank Oz said, "I don't recall where Marvin Suggs came from. Probably one of the writers' meetings. But the accent came from my French friend Philippe Gentry. I just exaggerated it and made it really annoying. I've always felt Marvin lived in a scuzzy trailer park with his put upon wife, and he kept the Muppaphones in a cage and would beat them regularly."
Oh my God.
Yeah. So that's even worse than what we actually
That's
see on the
his
screen.
backstory. Yeah. I mean, that's terrible, right?
Yeah.
And yet, dark humor. I mean, dark humor for the Muppet Show. Yeah. But I mean, wow. Kept them in a cage and beat them regularly. I mean, that's, obviously Sesame Street, we would never get away with any backstory
Oh,
like that.
no, of
Or, well,
course.
and like, Don Music, of course, when he was banging his head on the piano, like
Yeah.
letters, and they had to stop doing that.
Right. I
Any of
guess
that physical humor,
the
you
difference there
know,
too is he was inflicting that upon himself, whereas
on
Marvin
himself.
Suggs
Yeah,
is doing it to
exactly.
the
Yeah.
Muppaphone guys.
Well, and anything, like Super Grover flying into frame, crashing, I'm okay.
Right.
And, that's him. It's just
Yeah.
him. Yeah. There's no inflicting pain on somebody else. But
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah,
Right.
that's what
That
he
is,
said. So maybe the
that,
difference is that we don't actually get because you would never know that to see Marvin Suggs on the Muppet Show.
right.
So maybe it's
Yeah.
because we don't spend enough time with them to really start to
Yeah.
feel sorry for them.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure which one I'm thinking of now, Lady of Spain or Ting Tang, but they are like when he hits them, they're going, ow. I mean, they're not saying ouch, but it's
Yeah, Lady
something
of
kind of
Spain is
like that.
yeah,
Is that
ow,
the
ow,
one?
ow.
They're, ow, ow, ow.
Yeah,
So, yeah, maybe.
yeah.
Hopefully they're getting paid enough to live in
I
cages and
I
be
hope
beat
so.
regularly.
Yeah.
I mean, it
There
is a gig, right? They're performing. It's a show, so they should be
yeah.
getting paid.
Yeah, true. I hope yeah, he lets them in on a little bit of whatever he's getting paid.
That's absurd. That is
It
so
really
funny.
is. But yeah. Have you ever seen a Monty Python sketch from Monty Python's Circus with Arthur Ewing and his musical mice?
Yes. Wait a minute. I'm gonna look that up because that Arthur, what's his last name?
Well, so it for some
Okay.
reason it was there. They did it two different ways on the show, Flying Circus. It was Arthur Ewing and his musical mice,
Oh,
and then when they did
yeah.
the sketch film, and now for something completely different, the character's name is Ken Ewing
Okay.
and his musical mice. I don't know
Maybe
why.
Arthur sued them,
I
came after them and said,
oh, like
"Hey."
if there was a real Arthur Ewing, maybe. Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, because what it is, and this predates the Muppet Show by a couple of years, uh, is a guy who announces that he has trained all these white mice
Oh,
to sing on
yes. Oh my
different
God.
pitches.
I'm seeing it, and he's using mallets,
He hits them with
and
mallets. Yeah. So the first time I saw, and now for something completely different, I was shocked. Like, wait a minute, did the Muppet Show steal this idea?
Who knows? Might
Yeah,
have. I mean, it's well, I that's a yeah, that's a good question for even the little creature furballs. Like, were those around in any form? I always look at stuff that happens on the set and people are kidding around. That's how the two-headed monster even
sure.
came to be was did someone have one of those little Muppets and someone was smacking it on the head with something and they who
Right.
knows? Or if Python was an influence. I mean, influences
Yeah,
a lot of people.
because it was Flying Circus was on TV in those days.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could absolutely see that, it could have just been parallel thinking.
Yeah. Well, now, okay, so I have to look because it does list Muppets Tonight, Garth Brooks show with Marvin Suggs. So that is interesting. I don't remember.
Oh, yeah, I don't remember.
Wait, is that? Let me see.
It's possible he was just in the background or in a musical
Yeah,
number or
that's the
something.
thing. The list is exhaustive and
Yeah,
yeah, it may just be a scene in the background. But
yeah.
there was a Muppets Tonight moment, which is another physical thing, which is kind of funny, which I think it was one of those quick little throws to Gonzo that we did. Quick, throw something on stage. And Gonzo's like, here's my, I don't even know what the characters were called, but it was the Anvil chorus
Oh,
from,
yeah.
I'm forgetting the opera, I'll blank, but ba ba da ba da ba da ba
Right.
da ba da ba, and it was just these two flat-headed Muppets just slamming their heads against anvils. That's all it was. And it was, 10, 15 seconds. That was it. But it just, that moment on set too just cracked me up. I'm like, yeah, okay, anvil chorus. It writes itself. Those are
Yeah, and it's
anvils.
very classic, reminiscent of something from the original Muppet Show.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure we could come up with other similar Muppet musical comedy bits that are,
Yeah. That's why when you first contacted me, that's what I was thinking of. I was like, how many of these like very physical musical
yeah.
things have they done aside from just playing instruments, and doing it and like I said, looking very believable, working on guitar solos
Oh,
and
yeah, you were
you know,
mentioning that earlier about
yeah.
how much time and effort the puppeteers put into making sure
Yeah.
that Muppet musicians that their hand movements
Yeah, and
match the
that's
instruments.
again, I think that's the Jim Henson DNA of like of wanting to be exact for those things, even just choreography and dancing to the beat and making sure, they're all in time. But yeah, for me as a kid watching Animal play drums, that was very specific. When Animal's hitting a cymbal, I mean, you hear that cymbal, and that the biggest thing for me was the Buddy Rich versus Animal battle. I mean, I can picture that in my brain right now. That was
Oh
such a
yeah.
great episode. um yeah, the exactness of musical playing, guitar, trumpet, whatever it is, the puppeteers they want that to look believable. There,
Yeah.
yes, there's suspension of belief, but trumpet player, three valves, they want to use their fingers. Saxophone, all 10 fingers doing something. And I had heard when Muppets and Disney were combined, the first big video they did was Bohemian Rhapsody, and I heard this through the grapevine somehow that whomever was working on just the guitar solo in the middle of that song, I think I'd heard it was Dave Goelz and Steve Whitmire, but they spent like 2.5 hours just on that guitar solo
Wow.
to get that to look believable. Because it's such, I mean, it's for a guitarist out there, it's a classic solo. So they want that's for them, I think. You know what I mean?
Sure,
Like when
yeah.
Animal hits a cymbal, that's for all the drummers out there
Right.
and the musicians that know. And that guitar solo, that's like it's iconic.
Yeah.
So
Because most people watching it for the first time aren't really gonna pick up on it.
right.
But that's because it looks so good. I think we would notice more if it didn't look good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And fretting on a guitar or a
Yeah.
bass, just fretting and moving fingers. Like how complex do you want to get with that as far as a live hand goes, and whether there's even four fingers or five on the
Yeah.
character, because fingering on a guitar or a bass is obviously super specific, but how far do you want to go with that?
Have you ever been present for a moment on a Muppet set like that?
Yeah, there were some moments. Muppets Tonight was different because the band was a Zydeco band. I think it was an upright bass.
Hmm.
So playing around with that is fun because you can just kind of slide and
Yeah.
I don't remember very specific like fingering happening. And we've done slide bass on Sesame Street quite a bit.
Okay.
Leslie assisted Matt as Floyd on Muppets Mayhem a couple times playing
Oh,
bass.
oh, nice.
I think she actually did the fretted hand on the neck of the bass. And so she would play me the song that they were working on, and I would kind of help her approximate like low to high. Just start there. What is low to high? But it gets very specific because the low string is the one that's, if it's a normal bass, it's the lowest string is the one highest on the actual neck, right? So it's let's say it's closest to your
Oh,
face
yeah, okay.
versus the one closest to your feet, which is the highest pitch. So that's, if you're not a bass player, you gotta really think about that, right?
Right.
Right. As you're fretting it and thinking, where does the low note go? If it goes high, it's not just moving the hand up and down the neck to go low, high, low, high.
Hmm.
There's more specific things to that for a guitarist or
It's
bassist. So
more precise.
yeah, and I'm sure Matt, they both at Simpatico, like playing Floyd, playing bass, you'd have to be on the same page. Like, how far do we want to go with this? Regardless of what hand Matt is using and what hand Leslie's using to play. I mean,
Yeah.
and again, it's an exact thing, suspending belief, but as exact as you can get it, you know?
Yeah, and it's very convincing pretty much all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. I mean, even like now I'm thinking of like Rolf playing piano, the exactness of that. And that was on I'll tell you another Muppets Tonight story. Tony Bennett was on, and his amazing um accompanist and music director for years, Ralph Sharon, was playing piano. That was my first phone call on Muppets Tonight. I was terrified.
Oh,
I'm like,
wow.
I'm calling Ralph Sharon? This guy's a legend, at his home in Burbank? What?
That's intimidating.
Um, and so the trio was there. It was piano, bass, and drums. It was Ralph Sharon on piano, bassist who had been with him for a few years, and then Clayton Cameron, wonderful drum set player, master of the brushes, like had this great feel of playing brushes on a jazz kit. And
Hmm.
so during a piano solo, I think it was in I Left My Heart in San Francisco. We had the piano solo. Ralph had recorded it. We recorded everything live on set, which was another like pinch myself moment. We did two takes of every song. I think there were 4 or 5 songs. We did two takes of each with the band playing live
Oh,
in a
wow.
giant cavernous set with microphones, close mic'd on
On
every
the set
instrument
of the show, not
on the
even just
set of
in
the
a
show.
studio
Yeah,
before. Oh,
not
wow.
in the studio. We did it on the day.
Wow.
We did everything he was in was pretty much on that day musically.
Huh.
So when the piano solo came up, I, I I'm assuming it was Bill Beretta, um, as Rolf. Let me think about this. But somebody had to play the piano,
Right.
and they were listening to it, and they're like, oh, I think somebody joked, oh, we should get Ralph Sharon to play it. Well, Ralph Sharon's an old guy. There's no way he's going to get underneath a piano to play it.
Uh,
And Clayton Cameron, I think, offered, like, do you want me? Like, I could do that because he just listened to the recording. I mean, we just did it live,
oh, yeah.
recorded it. And so it's Clayton Cameron puppeteering.
Those are his hands
Yeah, those are
inside
his hands.
Ralph's hands.
I don't know if that is the
Wow.
first time anybody's ever said that in a recording on a podcast, but
That,
but it's true. And Clayton Cameron, I saw him years later. I saw him at the Percussive Arts Society convention. I saw him like 10, 15 years later. Reintroduced myself. Hey, Paul from Muppets Tonight. And he goes,
uh,
he goes, that day being a puppeteer as a piano player was like memoir worthy. Like
oh, yeah.
he talks about that all the time. Only time he's ever done that musically. And
Sure.
I think they like Taft Hartley'd him as a piano player, physical, because an actor like SAG-AFTRA, you're
Oh,
technically
really?
you're on camera as an assist. So they had to get him in. Taft Hartley means you can do like a 1 day job
Hmm.
in that union. So yeah, he talked about, he was like, oh yeah, you're that day, and he just lit up. He's like, that day was so cool. I was under the piano, I was playing Rolf's hands, and playing Ralph Sharon's parts for Rolf, which is
The
another,
dog, yes.
that's deep. It's a deep cut right there.
Right.
But yeah, so again, exact, right? They wanted that piano part to look exact,
Yeah.
and I'm assuming Ralph is he a four-fingered dog? Is he five?
I think he has
Um,
4 fingers. Yeah.
yeah. So that might have been
On
another
each hand.
weird thing for Clayton to be in those gloves.
Oh, yeah. That would be an adjustment too, because,
Yeah.
yeah.
But basically they needed that rhythm and the pitches to basically look, believable
Wow. Yeah.
to what Ralph Sharon played. So yeah, that was trippy watching. I didn't do anything for that. I was not
Yeah.
under the piano
Oh.
conducting him or cueing him because I mean he's such a great musician. Yes, he's a drummer. I'm sure he's probably a multi-instrumentalist as well because he
Hmm.
obviously had enough piano chops to make it look real. Um, so yeah, I just did nothing. I just sat back and watched TV. present.
Right, right. But that's fun that it made for such a good story for you, but then to find out that it also made for such a good story for
Oh
him.
yeah, yeah. Like literally 15 years later, he's
Yeah,
going, "Oh, that was so much fun." Remembered it
yeah.
very specifically.
Would you say the Muppets have been a musical influence on you before you worked with them at all?
I would say, yeah, I would say in the humor factor
Yeah.
as a kid watching it, yeah, because my humor, my parents introduced my sister and I both played piano, both took classical piano lessons, like every kid does, and hated it for a while,
Oh,
until we had really good teachers. But my parents took us to see Victor Borge, and I know
oh.
that's a deep cut. People will have to look him up.
But
Victor
that you talk about
Borge,
comedy and music, yeah.
oh my God, I mean that set me, I think, on this road. Like I'm fortunate enough to be a part of Muppets and Sesame Street and all that musical history, but I think that concert, because I had heard the albums, I had heard him do it. There's one thing he does, which people can look up. He reads little stories and he verbalizes the punctuation, right?
Right.
So an exclamation point, he'll go zip, and he'll make these
Yeah.
sound effects.
People of a certain age might have seen him do this on The Electric Company, which was a
Yes, yes.
children's television workshop show. Yeah.
Yeah, or a question mark. He make a zoop, and he make all these
Right.
sounds. And so my dad used to play. He used to mess around doing that himself, and we'd all laugh, blah blah blah. And so when I saw him live, he did it live. And then of course he's playing piano, and the guy had chops. I mean, the guy could really play. This was not just a joke. This was
Right,
like
right.
PDQ Bach doing real stuff. And so seeing that live, and then realizing, okay, there can be humor in classical music. Then when my sister and I would play duets, like we'd play them really fast or we'd try and play them in the wrong key. I mean, we just added humor to the seriousness of us taking classical piano
Yeah,
lessons.
sure.
And it definitely set me on a road. And I do think Muppets did too. If nothing else, seeing musicians, and whether it's pop musicians or like Steve Martin or somebody that I knew from another world, seeing them on the Muppets and playing funny with the song, right? Any
Right.
given song, because what it might have been was it like Linda Ronstadt. What's the beautiful ballad she did?
Blue
There's always
Bayou.
a yeah, there's always a little humor in those songs with the puppets and with the Muppets and doing shtick here and there,
Right.
whether it's super obvious or subtle. Um, that's something I probably unconsciously realized. Oh, wait a minute, these are puppets and this is kind of funny, and they're doing
Yeah.
this ballad. I don't know if it all added up in my brain, but it definitely did later in life,
Yeah,
you
I've seen
know?
you playing like awesome medleys on the vibraphone while dressed as Deadpool. So there was
There's that.
clearly,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, I'll take
some
that. Thank you.
something there leading the path to
Right.
funny ways of playing music.
Yeah. Well, I think humor and music is definitely part of my DNA. And
Yeah,
I'll give Victor Borge and Muppets credit for that.
right. Which and that includes Marvin Suggs. So
Right. Yeah. See, it's
any
all coming full circle, you
yeah,
know?
any other thoughts on Marvin Suggs or favorite Marvin Suggs moments or anything that we
Oh
haven't talked
God.
about yet?
I don't think so. Let me think of some other songs that he did.
A lot of them are just so brief. Like
Yeah. Yeah. It's
he's in the
literally
OK Go
just,
video, but he's
yeah,
just
very
yeah, very
quick. I
briefly.
mean, what's
Yeah.
funny is the list of the Muppet Show, seasons. He hit his stride in season three. He's got three appearances in season three. But again, it might be, I don't know. One of those was the Leslie Ann Warren one. Was that the he did a thing with her, right?
Yeah, that's where she comes out expecting to be singing a song with Ralph playing the piano,
Yeah, that's
but
right.
he has taken the stage. I
Yeah.
forget what song he's singing or what song he's playing,
They
but
begin playing the Blue Danube Waltz.
oh, that's it.
So
So it's yeah, da
yeah,
da 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 da, and they go ow
right.
ow ow ow. But that's
Yeah.
where Leslie Ann Warren is appalled to see that he is hitting living creatures, and he says, "Of course they are alive. You cannot make music by hitting dead creatures."
That's right.
So again, man, this guy
See, I
goes
mean,
to
that's
some dark
dark.
places. Yeah,
Yeah, he could have thrown his line about them living in cages, back
they could
home.
have. Yeah, that would have fit in right there. Yeah,
Wow. No, love it. Yeah, I got nothing else. I just think that type of humor in Muppets is just perfect. It
yeah,
just
yeah. I,
works so well.
yeah, we can't add much more to that.
Yeah.
So is there anything you'd like to plug? Any Any projects
Nothing upcoming. I mean,
online?
I'm trying to my percussion group Glank has been dormant for a while. In fact, Dragon Con is coming up, and the last like big gig we did was 2017 Dragon Con.
Whoa, wow,
So
okay.
yeah, 8 years. Scary. Well, COVID had a lot to do with that, of course.
Oh, of course,
So
yeah.
I'm trying to bring back a smaller group. I'll call it Glank 3.0 of just 3 players. But my vibraphone, what I'm trying to do now soonish, later-ish, is I did some streaming during COVID on my vibes, and I kind of created a one-man band out of my vibes, and I'm super inspired by loopers like Reggie Watts.
Oh, yeah, cool.
And that one guy, if anybody, if I could plug anyone right now, it's a bassist, multi-instrumentalist, that and the number one guy, that one guy. He has evolved from like using kind of loopers and delays and things with a multiple kind of, he plays bass. He's a wonderful classical bass player, but he uses
Hmm.
foot pedals and triggers different sounds. He'll trigger percussion. He'll get a little loop going. And he's evolved into like video looping live and all this stuff. I mean, his performances are just, it's one of those things YouTube does not do it justice. Go see him live.
Okay.
So what I did was I during COVID, I invested in a whole bunch of effects pedals with my vibes. I have pickups on every bar, so I can
Oh,
basically send them through any kind of distortion, delay, whatever. There's no feedback. Vibraphone is a
huh.
notoriously hard instrument to mic because inside the bars, the resonating tubes, there's a little
Hmm.
cap that spins in there that creates the whoa, 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 the vibrato kind of effect. That is moving air. So a microphone has to pick that up.
Right.
So anytime you throw an effect through the microphone, it's building up potential for feedback and horrible audio. So
Yikes.
by putting pickups on it, I can run all the effects directly through the effect pedals. And I have like 21 of them now.
Oh,
Way
wow.
too many. I'm just totally messing with the vibraphone. I'm a punk at heart.
Yeah, sounds
So
like it.
my goal is to destroy the sound of the vibraphone, but in a good way.
Yeah,
So
in an
I've
all
been
new way.
yeah. So I have a thing that's in my brain called vibe bossa, like bossa nova.
Sure.
And I love the bossa nova beat, and I've been applying that to covers and doing crazy distorted bossa nova covers of songs. Like, Take on Me by Aha,
Oh, wow.
or like a Nine Inch Nails song, or U2's. So that was my COVID. It was like I have a book of maybe 60 songs, covers, that I just played with all this crazy sound. So there's nothing upcoming for that, but my goal is to, it's hard to release covers like that because of publishing rights and all
Oh,
that, but
right. Okay,
at
that was going to be my
least,
next question, but yeah,
yeah,
okay.
I can't release those for monetary
Right.
consumption, but I can stream those, and I can stream that live. My goal would be to do that as a trio, blank trio, with all my affected stuff and a percussionist and a bassist, or other instrumentalists. Put that out there.
Yeah, so people can just keep an eye out for future developments from Glank.
Yeah, glank.com. Same thing for Instagram. I do have a SoundCloud page. That's where I'm going to try and start putting more of these sounds up on SoundCloud. And then my next Deadpool appearance as a vibraphone player will be at Leslie's Cabaret. When's your cabaret?
October
October
26th.
October 26th.
Oh, okay.
Moonlight Madness.
So people in the New York City area, this by the time this
Yes.
comes out, there will still be a couple more weeks to get
Yeah,
tickets for
there you
that.
go.
So yeah,
Yeah.
great.
So,
All right, and thanks once again for talking Marvin Suggs with me today.
yeah, thank you, Ryan.
70 Years, 70 Muppets is a Muppet fan podcast presented by toughpigs.com, hosted by a whole myriad of people and edited by them as well. Produced by Jared Fairclough. The Muppets 70 logo used with permission by the Muppet Studio with thanks to Danny Iglesias, Frank Reich Snyder and Lee Slaughter. Don't forget to follow toughpigs.com on all social media platforms. You can support us by heading to patreon.com/toughpigs or buying a t-shirt at tpublic.com/toughpigs.
So I'm here with my dad, and he was the pastor at our church when I was about maybe 9 or 10 years old. So, Dad, do you remember when myself and my siblings and our friends wanted to put together an act for the church talent show based on the Muppet character Marvin Suggs? I was going to line everybody up and hit them on the head with my fist, and they were going to sing, ow, 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 ow. Do you remember this?
Absolutely, I do. It went over so well. Each of you kind of banged your fist upon the other one's head, and when they that was a signal to sing the note.
Yeah.
Or shout out, but I
Right.
remember it was you sang it.
It was musical, yes.
It was musical, and it went over extremely well. People had never quite seen anything like four boys popping each other on the head and singing musical notes. And our music director, our organist at the time, was named Laura Brown. She was kind of a quiet lady and kept to herself and pretty private and not kind of humorless, I would say. She didn't have much of a sense of humor.
Not so demonstrative with her emotions.
She never showed emotion much, but I remember she was so amused at that she burst out laughing. I think there were tears coming from her eyes, and the whole thing was well received. It was a big hit, one of the memorable acts of that event, of that night.
So what I also remember is at first when I told you that's what we wanted to do for the talent show, you weren't sure about it because you thought some of the older, maybe sort of proper ladies in the church would think it was too weird or wouldn't understand it.
Wouldn't get it. Yeah.
But you let us do it anyway.
Sure.
So
and it turned out to be a smash. And one of those older ladies was the lady I just mentioned, and she enjoyed it completely, thoroughly, totally.
Yeah, so there you have it. Stealing a bit from the Muppet Show brings everybody together.
So if somebody wants to bop you on the head, or somebody does bop you on the head, be ready to sing a musical note because it might just be the most entertaining thing somebody's seen that day.
There you go. That's the lesson.